The San Francisco 49ers get the W. How are we feeling? What are the vibes? I need to know. Let me know in the chat right now. San Francisco 49ers come out, get the victory against the Jets. I think my favorite thing about the San Francisco 49ers scoring over 30 points against the Jets, still coming away with the victory, was that it wasn't perfect. I think that's my favorite part. Is it wasn't perfect and they still scored over 32. Defense looked fantastic, making plays, turnovers, big stops. It was definitely a team effort, full all three phases: offense, defense, special teams. Obviously, Moody. I think Moody made 6 out of 6 kicks, if I'm not mistaken. So the San Francisco 49ers obviously played a complete team game. It wasn't a perfect game. It wasn't a absolutely crisp game, but it was a game that you can feel extremely good about while continuing to get better and improving as the season progresses. So, man, talk about a good win. I've talked about it before. I view the first 4 weeks of the season as preseason for the starters. So I'm not anticipating that these guys got to come out and they got to be perfect and they have to have everything all figured out. I'm expecting them to play hard, play with effort, and execute to the best of their ability. And again, clean up the things that you need to clean up. You got to clean up some of the penalties. You got to obviously bring in the catches when they're available to you. Um, don't jump off sides, simple things. So obviously wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that's a good thing. I think that's, again, another sign that's pointing towards the arrow being up for the San Francisco 49ers, because the fact that you can look at this performance, you can look at this team, and you can say, yeah, they're going to get better. Whew. I mean, there's no Christian McCaffrey out there. You wouldn't have known. 49ers go into this game, Christian McCaffrey's ruled out. So obviously, what's that mean? It means Jordan Mason is going to get a lot of work because they don't have Elijah Mitchell anymore. Elijah Mitchell's on IR for the entire season. So Elijah Mitchell's not coming back. Obviously, they have Isaac Guerrero. They suited up Patrick Taylor. But there was even an instance where late in the game, Kyle let the clock run out because Jordan Mason had went out, and instead of running a play with Isaac Guerrero, he just kind of waited and then reset and then put Jordan Mason back in. I just feel like there's a comfortability knowing, the players that you can count on and you can rely on, and Jordan Mason is one of those guys. So I think overall it was a great performance. I thought the defensive line looked really good. I thought the pressures being generated by Nick Bosa and by Leonard Floyd is what we talked about in the pregame. So what we talked in the lead up to this game was looking at their tackle spots, looking at how there's vulnerabilities there, looking at how we have the better athletes on the outside and how those athletes can take advantage. And that's exactly what they did. Even when Nick Bosa was getting straight up chokehold, slammed, held, no calls, the things that we're used to these days with Nick Bosa, it still didn't matter. 49ers are getting pressure. Jordan Elliott smacked. He hit Aaron Rodgers so hard. I had a perfect view of it. It was pretty much right in front of me, where I was sitting on the field. He clobbered him, and you could tell it. It that looked like one of those hits that Aaron Rodgers was like contemplating, like, "Damn, I'm too old for this." That's the feel I got from the hit that Jordan Elliott put on him. Um, I was like, oh no. I think Aaron Rodgers is realizing he's not a young kid anymore, and he got rocked. Um, yeah, the film breakdown is going to be a good one on this one. I can't wait to see. I'm not sure whose post game interview you're talking about. I haven't really gotten to see everything. I've tried to get some posts up and then get on live so we can have a live reaction to the game. Someone said something about Talano Hufanga. I wasn't really sure about. If something happened, I don't know. So I got to check it out when I get. Okay, so what is this? Jordan had an outstanding game, but he needs to be more professional than what he displayed in the interview. So Jordan Mason had an interview and he didn't present himself well. JP was asked when he knew he would start. He said last Friday, like, listen, I'm not worried. Okay, I'll have to figure it out. I'm not really sure what's happening, so I'll figure it out at the end. Um, there was nothing that I came across that really stood out to me that was going crazy, but all right. Well, I'm not gonna hold JP Mason's feet to the fire in his first like interview. Again, there's a lot of decisions that are made behind the scenes, and sometimes guys are going to tell the truth, and the truth might not align with the messaging and like the perception trying to be presented out. So that's a very common thing. It's not the 49ers. Um, it's really not up to the 49ers to be totally honest with us. That comes to Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, the players, what they're doing, what they're working on, what they're trying to get other teams to prepare for. I really don't have a problem with it. So if we're talking about there's a issue with when one guy said he's going to start versus when the coach is saying that again, that is how I'm perceiving what the chat is telling me. And if that is the issue, I see that as a non-issue. That's just a slip up in communication. That happens. I'm not worried about that. I don't expect a team to be. That's why we have a tinfoil hat, guys. The tinfoil hat exists to weave through the team speak that isn't always going to be up you know upfront and transparent. It is what it is, and I don't expect it to be, because if I was the head coach, if I was a general manager, I would keep everything close to the vest. I would make you look over. I get it. They play the games. I appreciate the games that they play. So I'm not worried about at least what initially I'm hearing. Pooney the Punisher dominated tonight. I can't wait to get into the tape and watch the offensive line. That's one of the things I'm most excited about. I was seeing people talking about how Pooney was playing. Obviously, in the stadium, it's really hard to like focus in on the O line specifically. But that's going to be one of the top things that I'm going to be looking for once I get into the tape. How did Dominic Pooney play? Obviously, there was a situation with Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks went down. Spencer Burford had to come in. So I didn't really see anything on an update about that. So we'll have to monitor what's going on with the left guard position. But again, when it comes to like watching from in the stadium and I'm just going with the flow of things and just following the ball and that kind of stuff, if your name isn't getting called, you're not getting penalties, there isn't an egregious blow up. Um, I didn't see anything from Pooney that indicated he made any mistakes. Obviously, once we get into the tape, we'll be able to figure all that out. But based on first impression, even some of the holding calls I thought were ticky tack. I thought that one on Colton, obviously, Colton's going to take a lot of heat for that, and I get it. But I didn't even really. I was watching the replay in the stadium. It didn't look like a hold to me, really. I I saw way worse holds on Nick Bosa that weren't called than what was called on McKivitz. So it is what it is. Obviously, you don't want to put yourself in that position. the one that Debo had that took a touchdown off the board. Um, that one I could see he had his hands hooked underneath the chest plate and he didn't release at the right time. Again, it's not a big deal though. It's small things that you can clean up. Not necessarily worried about that. I thought Diamador Lenore played pretty well tonight. Isaac Yadam had that really nice PBU on that fourth down. I'm trying to think of some other defensive players. Flan came up with an interception on the PBU that Diamador had. Diamador's just, bro, Diamador was on Instagram Live playing Not Like Us on the way home, showing off his bling. Like, Diamador is built for the cornerback position. He is a total cornerback to the nth degree, and I freaking love it. He's a dog. He has that mentality on and off the field, and I think that's big. So Mooney, um, George Odom played well. I thought George Odom, for the most part, obviously there was that issue with I think it was Jair Brown and I believe it was I believe it was Odom who was playing the middle third defender, but the one where they had the false start, free play touchdown, that one obviously you can look at a little bit. Yeah, Collins was balling. Fred Warner with the early turnover early to get the momentum on their side. I really feel like from that turnover, the 49ers kind of took momentum back or really just took the momentum of the game and they never gave it back. So um, honestly, I think that's about the kind of week one win that you're looking for. Um, again, it wasn't perfect. There's so much stuff to go back and clean up, and as you would expect. So you know, you could tell a little rust for BA. BA was definitely feeling the rust. That's why, I emphasized really wanting to get him into training camp, really wanting to get. I'm not a fan of training camp holdouts because I'm not a fan of how it translates into the season. We've seen it multiple times. We've seen it with Debo. We've seen it with Bosa. We're seeing it with Ayuk. So I get it. I get why. So I'm not going to sit here and harp like it's the end of the world. Yeah, you want to bring that catch in the end zone. Purdy dotted it up. It was a beautiful throw, and that's a catch that you think Brandon Ayuk makes 9 out of 10 times, and that was the one time that he didn't bring it in. But I'm not worried about BA in the slightest. That's just what happens. Um, felt like felt like the energy wasn't all the way back. Um, and I think, with more practice, with more games, that will come back and all that stuff. Kyle Juszczyk, I think we talked about that in the pregame. I think it was Gab who was like over under two and a half receptions. And I was like, I don't think so. They don't typically target Juice all that much. Yeah, they went over that. So Juice looks good. Jennings looks good. Debo was all over the place. Used Debo as the wide back. Used Debo on end arounds. Debo had the end around touchdown. That was really nice. Brock, I thought, played well. I thought Brock wasn't perfect, but for the most part, played really, really well. I think some of his best passes were incompletions. Um, so I thought Brock did what he needed to do. I think Kittle had a great game. Kittle was balling. Kittle just continues to be consistent. Whenever his number is called, he's going to do what's required of him. Honestly, it was a great team win. Great team win. Again, Moody making all of his kicks. Another positive sign, positive momentum. I feel like for kickers, man, it's about stacking momentum. Um, it's about stacking kicks and successes and going out and seeing how much we relied on Jake Moody today, going and seeing him nail all his kicks. Again, building momentum, building confidence. We're not concerned about Jake Moody's leg. What we are really looking at is if um, he can consistently be on point throughout the entire game, and that's exactly what he did. Honestly, this is one of the firest moves. I just do my work in the stadium. I get all my posts out. We do our lives, and I have no traffic on the way home. It's a beautiful thing. Um, but overall, man, feels good. Feels good to be 1-0. Feels good to have the San Francisco 49ers in the win column early. Obviously, we understand what happens if the 49ers started out 0-1. So I'll take it. I think this is a great start. It's a great jumping off point, and there's a ton to build on. I'm really excited about the defense. The defense looked like a completely different unit to me. Um, this is not your Steve Wilkes defense. It's becoming more and more clear of what the issues were last year, and you're already seeing those improvements. The energy looks different. The way they're flying around, Fred Warner doing Fred Warner things, the combination of the new defensive line. I mean, honestly, the D line depth is a little scary. There was a point when it was early on in the game, and it was Sam Okiwanu, who's elevated off the practice squad at edge. It was Kevin Givens, Jordan Elliott, and Robert Beal Jr. Now, nothing against any of those guys, but that was the defensive line because the starters went out and they had to rotate, they had to rest. And you're thinking about, like, well, if any one of our starters get dinged up, get hurt, and you are looking at a Sam Okiwanu or a Robert Beal Jr. playing a lot of snaps, that's probably not where you want to be as a defense. So I think and that's nothing against those guys. It's again, they're just not Leonard Floyd or Trent Williams. So I think what would suit the 49ers would be to continue to look for potential defensive end depth where they can find it, whether it be a trade, whether, I don't know, someone hits the open market. I don't know. I think you got to keep looking at that defensive line depth if you can. Um, Obviously, the Drake Jackson injury is tough because you lose that depth piece. You lose the two guys that you had last year, so it'll be interesting to see Hassan Reddick. Honestly, hey, Hassan, come through. We'll send a seventh round pick. We're not going to pay you though. We'll send you a seventh round pick, not paying you, but come on over, come through. I'll open it up here for any questions, so you guys can drive the conversation here. If there's anything you want to talk about, I'm gonna try to. I got a lot of watch. I gotta watch the broadcast back. I gotta get the tape and get the watch the tape. Um, it's a lot of stuff to break down, um, but I'm excited to have football back. It was really cool. Side note: the San Francisco 49ers brought Sergeant Harrell, and they brought out the surgeon who worked on Ricky Pearsall, and that was a really cool moment. And then seeing them honor them, and Ricky Pearsall came out and gave them um, what I'm assuming is signed jerseys. That was a really classy move by the 49ers. I thought that was really, really cool to be able to honor the first responders and how all of that. It was phenomenal. I thought that was a cool thing. Oh, Frank Gore got uh, his final induction ceremony into the 49ers Hall of Fame. Epic speech. I actually posted that on the channel. He cut off Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis was trying to give him some like really nice, eloquent, like introductory speech. You could tell Frank was all the way turned up. Kept interrupting Vernon and kept saying, "Because I'm a dog," pretty much to everything he said. And then he just pushed Vernon out of the way, and then he just he got it done. Um, and yeah, it was great. It's great seeing Frank. You saw you had Patrick Willis get the foghorn going. Patrick, bro, Patrick got the whole stadium hyped. You can see like going to war with Patrick Willis. You could see how that guy could he took over the stadium. Like I mean, I was ready to run through a brick wall um, when I saw that. Roberto says Debo punked Sauce and snatched his chain. Weak sauce. I mean, other than the one PBU that I saw Sauce have on Ayuk, I really didn't see Sauce do all that much. But again, I got to go back and watch. It's easy for me to watch because you guys know I'm out here trying to get content and post content, so it gets a little hectic. So for me, the best way to watch the game and analyze the game is after it's all said and done. Um, what did I think of Campbell? Seemed like the only weak link on the front seven. I mean, there were some times where I saw Campbell in a trailing position. I think obviously the injury with D Winters is an interesting one. I thought Demetrius Flanagan Fowles played really well. I remember he was he was a controversial 53 man roster projection that I had. I was pretty adamant that DFF was going to make it. But a lot of people wanted him to get cut. But I think you can see, like, they trust DFF. He might not be the most physically imposing linebacker, but he's fast and he's going to be in the right position to make plays. So um, I think it'll be interesting to see D Winters' progression. I don't think, again, I'll have to go back and look at the tape more. I did notice some plays that Campbell left out on the field. So I'll have to give you a better have to give you a better assessment once I watch the tape a little bit more. Um, let's see. Mustafa over Odom. I saw Odom make a couple plays, but again, I have to get into the tape to see how it was play in, play out. I think they trust Odom a little bit more. Oh, there you go, Britt. First official game as a Niner fan. Love it. Glad we were able to snatch you away from briefly from the Eagles as a new NFL fan. Um, so yeah, I thought it was a good performance. Not the best performance, not a perfect performance, but that's not the expectation. The expectation is to go out here, play with good energy, um, playing assignment sound as best as possible, and getting out of here with a victory, and also getting out of here healthy. I don't think I really saw anything related to injuries, so that's good news. So yeah, I'm happy with the game. Hope you're happy with the game. Film breakdowns are going to be coming this week. So as you know, we do our live film breakdowns. We'll break down the whole game. Offense and defense. We're back into the groove of the season. So typical content will come. Can't wait to break down the offensive line. That's the number one thing that I'm going to be looking out for, and really checking in with Dominic Mooney, see how he did. So appreciate everyone for tapping in. I know you guys have a million content creators and a million resources for 49ers stuff. So I always appreciate you guys checking in with me. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm out.